Hi, this is Shannon. This is Cycle 1, Week 13. So the first week of second semester. Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying your Christmas break and getting some good rest and time with family and friends. I am excited to share with you some new tutor ideas, and also I have made some really fun games and activities that you can do at home with your kids to supplement the memory work as well. So make sure you stick around to the end of this video and I will explain how to download all those games and activities from my blog. If you are new to my channel, I am a homeschooling mom of 3 little ones, 5, 3, and 1, and we do classical homeschooling and love it, and I have the privilege of tutoring the obesitarians. So those are the young ones, so the 4 through 6-year-olds. So these tutor ideas are with them in mind, but you can definitely adjust some things and use most of these for older kids too. We are going to start with English this week. So if you watched my videos from last semester, I have these notebooks still for the kids in my class. I got this kind of notebook for each kid in my group, and I decorated them with this biology template that I have linked on my blog if you want to use it. So I will link that in the description below. But we are doing compound prepositions today. So I wrote out the compound prepositions for each kid before class time. So these are ready. And I chose this week to write out 3 of them and then write 2 in dots so they can trace them, and then write a horizontal line for instead of, which is the last one, for them to actually write. One of the reasons why I really love doing this is I like them to get some writing practice. I think that's great. And you can customize this to the level of the kids in your class and to each individual kid's level. So you could have them write more of the words if they're a little bit older, or you could have them trace more of the words, or you could write them all out and just have them follow along with you. There's lots of different ways you could customize this, so it's appropriate to the level of the kids in your group. Compound prepositions this week, we've got according to, in addition to, except for, in front of, out of, and instead of. I will have these laying on the table for the kids. So they will come into the room, they will find the notebook with their name on it, and then they will open it up and find week 13. I will give them a little pencil and they will start tracing and writing the last compound preposition as I go through them. So while they're working on that, I will teach them a song to help them remember these. This song is to the tune John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, and it goes like this. Compound prepositions according to, in addition to, except for, in front of, out of, instead of. Compound prepositions according to, in addition to, except for, in front of, out of, instead of. And you can keep getting faster each time. So I will sing this to them as they're writing the words, and then I'll have them join in with me and try to point to each word as we sing it, things like that. Then I'm going to teach them some hand motions for each one. So according to, I shake my finger like this. In addition to, I push my fingers out. Except for, like this. In front of, so I put one hand in front of the other. Out of, and instead of. So I'm like I'm handing something to somebody, instead of. So we'll sing that song and do the hand motions together. Then I'm going to have the kids do the preposition song from last semester. So I'm going to have them stand up and do the hand motions with me. If you're anything like me, I loved doing that last semester, and the kids did awesome learning the hand motions. And so I'm going to keep reviewing that throughout this semester too. It doesn't take that long, so I'll just have them stand up. We'll do that song. I'll link my video to that below if you want a refresher. But that is English this week. Next, we will do timeline. So for timeline this week, I have these timeline cards. Again, I get these from the Classical Conversations bookstore, and I have all 4 sets. I love them. I use them at home too. So definitely worth it if you want to invest in them. I also like to put these letters on them, the first letter of each timeline event. I get these letters from the dollar store. I've always seen them there, so I think they're usually there. But since I have the younger kids, it helps them identify which card is which, especially those who don't know how to read yet. So this week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the kids, okay, I need you to close your eyes, and I'm going to put a card on your back, but you can't know which one it is. So I'm going to have painter's tape and just stick a card on each person's back and tell them to keep their eyes closed until I'm done. You can have a parent help you too. Then once all the cards are on people's back, I'm going to tell them, okay, gotta walk around gently so it doesn't fall off your back. And your goal is to get yourselves in the correct order. So what I'm going to do is I got these little dots. I've been wanting to get these for a while because these are just great for younger kids. You can use them for so many things. So these will be on the floor in a line, and I'm going to tell them that we're going to get in the correct order. We're going to stand on these dots in the correct order, and they have to figure out how to put themselves in the correct order. So I'll get them started by saying the first timeline card this week is Age of Exploration. What does Age of Exploration start with? And they'll say A. And I'll say, okay, got to figure out who has Age of Exploration. So they'll look around at their other kids and which cards they have on their back. And when they figure it out, say Tommy has Age of Exploration on his back, then we'll help Tommy go to the first dot, and he'll stand on the first dot and wait for the next kid to come join him. So then the next card I'll say is Prince Henry Found's School of Navigation. So we'll be like, okay, who can find that one? Which one? What letter does Prince Henry start with? P, awesome. So say Samantha has this one on her back. So once they figure out it's Samantha, then Samantha will go stand on the next dot next to Tommy, I think I said. So we'll keep doing that. Then once they're all on their dots in a line, then we are going to go over the motions. I'll kind of sing the tune to this week's part of the timeline song as I do that too. So we're going to start with Age of Exploration. So like this, it's like we are looking at Age of Exploration, circa 1400. So if you want to do that, you make a 4 and go like circa 1400 and make a C for 100, circa 1400. And then for 1600, you put your, pinky and thumb together and go circa 1600 like that. So Age of Exploration, circa 1400 to circa 1600. You don't have to do that. If you don't, I probably won't because my kids are young, but Prince Henry found, so we're going to make a P and make a sash. So Prince Henry founds the School of Navigation, like we're driving a car. Slave trade in Africa, it's like our hands are bound. Gutenberg's printing press, we're going to make a G, and on our other hand go like up and down with our finger, like printing. Gutenberg's printing press, Shanghai in Africa. So we're going to go by our ear and then go down like that. Shanghai in Africa. Sir Ivan, so I with our pinky, Sir Ivan the Great of Russia. Russia, we're going to put our hands on our hips like this. Sir Ivan the Great of Russia. Spanish Inquisition. So I'm going to take my fingers on my shoulder like that and then connect them. Spanish Inquisition. At Inquisition, we go like this. So Spanish Inquisition. That is timeline. I'm going to have them practice the motions with me, maybe a couple times depending on time, and try to sing along with me. I usually just sing it myself because then I can control the speed that it goes, and it's pretty easy if you just practice a couple of times before your class time, then it's pretty easy to remember, or you could play it too. But that is timeline this week. For geography this week, we are learning about Western Africa. So I have my trivium table map here. I prepare these beforehand by outlining each of the locations we're going to learn about for the kids with dry erase marker. Our director got us these trivium table maps for each of the kids, but you could also print out the CC Connected maps that you can find in the Sandbox e-zine. So You could do that too if you don't have these. But again, we are learning about Western Africa, and I'm going to give each kid a little goldfish. We make these at home, and they're just super good and a lot better than store-bought. So if you are curious and want to make them, I will link our recipe below. We use freshly milled flour, but you can use normal flour too, and they're really good. It's just butter, cheese, flour, and a little bit of salt and a few seasonings, and that's it. It's really easy and just a lot more nutritious than store-bought, obviously. So I'm going to tell the kids that their little fishy is going to go on an adventure in Western Africa. So we're going to start in the Atlantic Ocean, and then we're going to swim up to the Senegal River. So the blue river is the Senegal River. Then we're going to jump over to the Niger River and then swim down into the Ivory Coast, which is orange here, or Côte d'Ivoire in French. And then while we're there, we get a little bit hungry from all the swimming. So we're going to have a little snack of peanuts and plantains, which are like bananas. Then once we have our snack, we're kind of cold because we've been swimming and been sitting and eating. So we need to go warm up. So we're going to head up to the Sahara Desert and dry off a little bit. Then once we're dry, we're ready to head back. So we're going to go back to the Ivory Coast, swim back to the Niger River, jump back to the Senegal River, and then head back into the Atlantic Ocean. I'm also going to teach the kids a song to the tune You Are My Sunshine, and it goes like this. Western Africa, Atlantic Ocean, Senegal River, Niger River, Sahara Desert, Ivory Coast, Western Africa, Western Africa, Atlantic Ocean, Senegal River, Niger River, Sahara Desert, Ivory Coast, Western Africa. So that is geography this week. Also, geography related, I wanted to share with you our Africa map you can see behind me. So I had a lot of fun making this. Each of the countries comes off and is made of felt and has these little snaps on the back. So my girls like to snap them on and off. So I'll link below where I have the patterns to all of these countries, but it's been a really fun way to dive deeper into Africa. We've been working on it over break, and we're going to continue working on the countries throughout this next semester with the focus of Africa as part of geography in this next semester of Cycle 1. So I wanted to share this with you. We've also made up a song, which is really fun for all of the African countries. So I'll link below my video for that as well. For math this week, we are learning about liquid equivalents. It's kind of continuing on from week 12. So if you remember week 12, we started with teaspoons, tablespoons, and then we ended with fluid ounces. So this week we're starting with fluid ounces and then going to cups and then pints, quarts, and gallons. So I'm going to remind the kids from last week that we learned that 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to have this guy, he's taped together right now so you can see him, but he comes apart. So before class, I will have my gallon robot man in pieces so the kids can help me put it together. So I'll have the first kid come put his head up on the wall. So I'll have a piece of painter's tape on his head and he'll stick on the wall. And then the next child will come up and put his body on. So we'll talk about how he's the gallon robot. So his body says gallon on him. Then we'll put his arm on. So he has a quart arm. And I'll talk about, okay, so there are 4 quarts in a gallon. So we need how many more quarts here to make a gallon? Yeah, we need 3 more. So we've got another arm here. Now we've got 2 quarts. Then we've got a leg. And I'm just going to have painter's tape on each part of these so they can just add them to our gallon robot on the wall. So I'll show you this obviously has the pints and cups already on it. I won't have that, but just so you can kind of see. And then once all the quarts are on him, then we'll talk about, okay, now we need to add some hands and some feet to him. So we've got 2 pints equals 1 quart. So we have 2 pints for that quart, 2 pints for the other quart, 2 pints for this quart. So again, the cups won't be on there yet, but you get the idea. And then I'll have them come, and we got to put 2 cups equals a pint. So I'm going to have 2 cups on each pint, or a total of 4 cups equals a quart. So as we put these things on our gallon robot man, we'll talk about what equals what for the liquid equivalent. So once we have him all together, I am going to continue the song I started in week 12, which is 3 teaspoons equal 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons equal 1 fluid ounce. 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup. 2 cups equals 1 pint. 2 pints equal 1 quart. 4 quarts equal 1 gallon. And I'll have them sing along with me, and we'll point to our gallon robot as we sing that together. That is math this week. Again, I will link in my blog where you can download the Gallon Man if you want to make him. And it's really easy. You can just cut out the pieces and then have the kids stick them. You don't even have to laminate them. You could just have the kids stick them each up. It wouldn't take that long, and it'd be fun. It's also something you could do at home with your kids too, to just continue to practice that. For history this week, we are learning about the Cush. So I am going to do my silly words again. I love doing this for history. It's a great way for them to hear the history sentence a lot, and it's fun. They really like it. So I'm going to tell the kids first, I'm going to sing the history song normally and correctly the first time. So you have to listen really carefully. And then after I sing it normally, then I'm going to throw some silly words in, and you got to raise your hand if you hear a silly word. So it goes like this. The Cush mined gold along the Nile River from 2000 BC to AD 350. The Berbers traded gold, iron, and salt in the desert. So now I'm going to throw in some silly words, and if you hear a silly word, raise your hand. All right, so I'll start like this. The whoosh mined, whoosh, it's not whoosh, what should it be? Oh, Cush, sorry, okay. So I'll go back to the beginning and do it correctly into the next silly word. So, the Cush mined bold along, bold, not bold, gold. Okay, so again, I'll go back to the beginning and sing it correctly until the next silly word. So, the Cush mined gold along the Nile shiver. Shiver? Not shiver, what shiver? Oh, Nile River. So you get the idea. So I go back each time to the beginning and sing it correctly until the next silly word. So they're hearing it correctly a lot. So the silly words I used again are whoosh instead of cush, bold instead of gold, shiver instead of river, glittery instead of 350, gerbils instead of Berbers, lion instead of iron, and blizzard instead of desert. So that is history this week. For Latin this week, we are going back to what we did during week 1 and 2 of this cycle and talking about the noun cases. So we learned this to the tune, Are You Sleeping, Brother John? And it goes like this. Nominative, subject, genitive, possessive, dative, indirect object, accusative, direct object, ablative object of the preposition. These are the noun cases. So what we're going to do is I'm going to sing that first to the kids to remind them that they've heard it before, so hopefully they'll remember it. And then I'm going to have them repeat or kind of echo me with the next word. So for example, I'll say nominative, and they'll say subject, and I'll say genitive, possessive, dative, and they'll say indirect object. I'll say accusative, they'll say direct object. So we'll do that. We'll kind of practice until they get it. Then I'm going to give them a silly voice card. So I've shown these before. They're free. You can download them on my blog, so I will link below where you can get them. But got opera style, slow, fast, high pitched, etc. So I'll give them each a silly voice card, and we'll do the same thing in our silly voice. For example, if we're gonna do opera style, then we'll do nominative, and then they'll echo subject, and I'll say genitive, I'll say possessive. Stick out your tongue, so we could do the same thing. They say that. So you could also use these silly voice sticks. I have both of them. I have them on my blog, the voices I wrote on them. If you want to see, I'll link below. But sometimes I use the sticks, sometimes I use the cards just to change it up. Squeaky voice, excited, mouth closed, etc. These are definitely worn. So I have a better picture of them where you could read all the voices that I wrote on these popsicle sticks on my blog. So I'll link that. You can look at that. But I love doing silly voices with them for at least something each week, usually some part of the memory work, because they just love it. And it's great to do towards the end of the time because it gets them laughing and re-engaged if they're getting tired. So that is what we're going to do for Latin. For science this week, we are learning about what are the parts of the geosphere. So before our class time starts, I'm going to lay out 6 pieces of painter's tape, pretty long pieces on the floor. So I'm going to use the hallway for this in the church where we meet. So I'm going to have 6 pieces long enough for all the kids to stand on each of them in a line, and they're going to hold hands. And before we do this, I'm going to show them on my tutor board the parts of the geosphere, how we start with the core, and then the mantle and the crust, and then the atmosphere and the hydrosphere is the water, and the biosphere, the plants and animals. So I'll show them a picture so they have a visual. Then we'll go out into the hallway and we'll start on the first line of painter's tape. We'll hold hands. I'll probably stand in the middle. I don't want them just jumping through as fast as they can. I want them to jump as we sing and say each part. So I'm going to make them hold hands and encourage them. We all have to jump to the next line at the same time. So I'll kind of show them that each line represents a different part of the geosphere. So the first line is the core. The second line is the mantle. The third line is the crust. Then we've got the hydrosphere, biosphere, and atmosphere. And so we're jumping from the center of the earth to the outside of the earth. So again, we'll start at the core line, and I'm going to teach them a song to the tune Bumping Up and Down in My Little Red Wagon. Now, you have to do this slow doing this activity because it goes a little bit faster, but you can just sing it slow so they have time to jump. So it goes like this. What are some parts of the geosphere? Core, then jump. Mantle, crust, hydrosphere, biosphere, and atmosphere. These are some parts of the geosphere. So we'll go back to the core and do it again, and we'll do it several times. Now we could change it up by having them jump on just one foot, having them like jump on their toes to each line, having them jump a little bit faster. We could sing the song faster. We could sing the song slower. We could have them turn around and jump backwards and see if they could do it that way. The key is to try to have them jump at the same time. So they're not just like jumping through, but they're actually jumping for each word. So again, our song goes like this. What are some parts of the geosphere? Core, mantle, crust, and hydrosphere, biosphere, and atmosphere. These are some parts of the geosphere. So that is science this week. For review this week, we are going to play this game called Stinky Feet, which is really fun. You might have heard of it. So I have these stinky feet I'm going to put up on my board. Then I have these little feet that I'm just going to put all around it. I'm just going to tape them on my board. Some of the feet have negative numbers. Some of the feet have positive numbers. So I'm going to divide the group into 2 teams and have the first kid of the first team come up, and they're going to take a foot off the wall. And I'm going to tell them before they look at anything on the back of the foot, I'm going to ask them a review question. So I might say, hey, can you tell me one of the prepositions we learned last semester? What was the motion for it? Do you remember? And they might say, yeah, about, good job. So then I'll be like, okay, Now turn your foot over and see if it's stinky. So it's stinky if it has a negative number. This one says +5, so it's not stinky, yay! So we add 5, positive 5 points to, whiteboard or piece of paper, somewhere where you're keeping score for that team. Then the child from the next team goes and maybe they choose this foot. And so I ask them a review question, say, maybe I ask, hey, do you remember what one of the 10 commandments was that we learned about last semester? Ooh, thou shalt not steal. Good job. Ooh, let's look out. Negative 15 points. It is stinky. So if it's negative, any kind of negative number, it's stinky. So when they get a stinky number, you obviously subtract that many points from their score, and that kid has to take a shoe off. So you don't have to do the shoe off thing. I just think it's fun, but you can. So they have to take a shoe off, and then you keep going. So you can maybe have a parent keep score. That would be a great role for a parent. And you just keep playing until you either run out of feet or you just decide it's time to stop. And then you can total the team's scores and see who won. The team with the most points can win, or the team with the least points, whatever you decide. And just the shoe taking off part is just part of the fun. So that's what we're going to do for review this week. And I have these little feet with the numbers on the back and this printable that you can download for free on my blog. So I'll link that if you're interested. All right, so as promised, I want to show you the games I made that you can play with your kids at home to just keep reviewing this memory work from week 13. So the first one is this preposition snakes and ladders game. So I put all the prepositions from last semester on it and the compound prepositions. So you can play with your kids, obviously, like ladders, you go up, snakes, you go down, just like normal. If you hit a compound preposition one, then you get to go again. And I like to challenge my kids that, whichever one they land on, whether it's a preposition or a compound preposition, we can try to use it in a sentence. So you can do a lot of things with this game to help review. I also have these preposition cards. I showed these last semester, but these are still great review just for all the prepositions. My kids and I play memory with them, but you can play Go Fish. You can just use them for review. They're great. So those will be available too on my blog that you can download. And for science, I made this color by number geosphere. So the kids just look at what number and you talk about that is the inner core, and they can color where they see number 1 yellow, then the outer core, etc. So just a fun way to review geosphere at home. Noun cases, I have this little maze activity where they can connect nominative to subject, etc. For history, I made these tic-tac-toe boards where you can print off these cards. And for example, this one says the Berbers traded gold, and then there's a line and a picture of iron. So the goal is you can switch off or have your kids switch off drawing a card and filling in the blank according to the history sentence, and then marking off that space on their tic-tac-toe board. I have several different tic-tac-toe boards that you can print out. Somebody can be O's, somebody can be X's, and see who can make 3 in a row first. So it's just a fun way to review the history sentence. For geography, I have this map of Africa, and I made it into a puzzle. So you can cut it out like I did, all these little pieces, and put the puzzle together. And that's a great way for your kids to just review the places that we're learning in Western Africa. And then for math, you can use that gallon man like I showed you at home too. Or I also have these little cards. These are similar to week 12, but I have a gallon card and little pint cards and cup cards and quart cards. So you can play a game with your kids by hiding some cup cards around, and they have to find some cup cards, and then once they get 2 cup cards, they can trade them in for a pint card, and then once they have 2 pint cards, they could trade it in for a quart card, and then once they have enough, they can trade it in for a whole gallon. So just a fun way to review that. You can also start with fluid ounces, since technically this week does start with that, and they would have to find 8 fluid ounce cards for 1 cup, and then they could go from there if you want, or you could just start with cups. But I have all of that available in my week 13 activity set, so you can do what you like with those. So be sure to check the link below in the description for my blog, where you can find all of these activities that you can do at home with your kids. And please let me know if you have any questions about anything. I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for watching. If you are enjoying my videos, please subscribe. I am posting at least 1 video per week relating to homeschooling, obviously tutor ideas, and healthy living. And also, I like to make up songs for each of the parts of the memory work for each week, so I post videos with those as well. So also check out Instagram if you are on that. I like to post what I do with my kids homeschooling wise throughout the week, and also healthy recipes we're making, things like that. And make sure you check out my blog with these activities and lots of other resources, and all these tutor ideas written out with links and everything. So thanks again for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your winter break, and Merry Christmas.